everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the Rougarou or Rougarou. So the Rougarou, or sometimes it's called the Loup-garou, is a Cajun folklore about a werewolf. Not your standard werewolf. As most people know, the werewolf is this big hairy beast that was once human and is now a werewolf, and it turns on a full moon. With the Rougarou, it's got more of a humanoid shape to its body. It's not as fuzzy, and it has a wolf head, and that made sense to me considering that if it's going to be stalking its prey in swampland, then it wouldn't be held down by so much hair because hair would get matted. These creatures are usually seen in the Acadiana swamps. That's where I believe it all kind of began, and that's at least where a lot of the folklore is popular. And Haiti has a different version of the Rougarou, where they see it as more of a demonic possession rather than a werewolf, which would make sense. I mean, if you saw someone turn into a werewolf or turning in general into something that you didn't understand, you'd be like, possibly demonic. The Rougarou has red eyes. Now, that's something that you see a lot in cryptids, the red eyes, such as Mothman. I believe there are some versions of Not Deer with the red eyes. What's interesting about the Rougarou is its ability to change into a werewolf at any given time. So imagine you're having a conversation with someone and it turns heated, and then all of a sudden, bam, werewolf. That to me is more terrifying than someone only having the ability of turning into a werewolf during a full moon, because then you've got that window, whereas a Rougarou can literally change on you at any given moment. Another noticeable difference about the Rougarou versus the werewolf is that the Rougarou tends to target children. So Cajun parents would use this to terrify their kids into doing chores, and they'd be like, the Rougarou is gonna come after you if you don't do this or that. And I thought that was interesting because there seems to be a lot of that within the cryptid world or folklore, such as Krampus or Baba Yaga. I could go on. There is a lot. But when I looked into this, it was usually used to scare children, as many cryptids are used to scare children into behaving, such as Krampus, like, don't be a bad child and this won't happen to you. So that's something that I've learned while looking into cryptids, is that it's kind of a weapon that if you misbehave in any way, this particular creature will come and snatch you up and do horrible things to you. I've seen this before where religious groups were often targeted by other religious people. So if you weren't a good enough Catholic, or if you didn't participate in Lent or do it the right way, then the Rougarou would come after you. Now, back to the way the Rougarou appears. I think what was interesting about the Rougarou is that it has more of a humanoid shape, where it kind of stands upright and has just a human-esque look to it with the dog head. Now, there is a movie, by the way, that you can look into. It's not about the Rougarou, but it is about a werewolf, and it does have that look. It's called Dog Soldiers, and I highly recommend looking into it. Although it does have its fair share of violence, so if you're not into that, I do talk about horror movies on this channel, but if you're not into very violent movies, then maybe not check that out, but it is worth looking into the design at least. The design of the werewolves has like this elegant feel to them. I believe they hired dancers for the role of the werewolves, so that would make sense. Another aspect of the Rougarou that is so interesting is that it seems to pull from multiple cultures. So when I looked into it, I saw that with its red eyes, it would stare into another person's eyes, and then that person would become a werewolf. And that really reminded me of Medusa, whereas if you looked into Medusa's eyes, you wouldn't become Medusa, but you would become stone. It was just very interesting how it's all in the eyes. And if you look into interdimensional beings, there are people who theorize that it's all in the eyes and that you can almost see that this other dimension is just bleeding through their eyes. Black eyes, red eyes. Something about that really unnerves people because we give eye contact to each other. So when a being has a different type of eye than you, it's very unnerving. Now, for those wondering, how do I protect myself against a Rougarou? And my answer to you would be, you need rice or 13 coins. This opens a whole can of worms with me because I thought this was really interesting. So people would put rice around their bed and that the Rougarou would come in and he would have to count all the rice and he would get distracted, or he would count the coins until 12 and then he would stop. So the number 13 is highly interesting to me because it seems to pop up everywhere. And I was wondering if there was any other cultures that use 13 with werewolves. And turns out there is. What's interesting is that the werewolf is not able to count past 12. So I did some digging and I found out that there was an interesting folklore that comes out of Argentina. In Argentina, the 7th son of the 7th son will turn into a werewolf on his 13th birthday, which I found remarkable how close these folklores really are. So I want to know what your favorite cryptid is in the comments, and let me know if you have any more recommendations. And I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.